Happy Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 201, titled The Devils Timo Meier Reality. I am your host, Sam Wu, here with Pucks and Pitchforks blog editor-in-chief Nick Villano, which he is looking a little yellow right now, but that's okay. I will fix it a little later. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. Coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios in North and South Jersey. Just a few days away from our February 25th $500,000 party at American Whiskey, 51 Edison Place, across the street from Prudential Center. I'm all fired up because I just got all the drink specials, everything figured out tonight, Nick. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. We got a really cool show tonight. Really cool show. Listen, we've been talking Timo Meier all the time. We've had local guys talk about him, like Devils reporters talk about him. We've had national reporters talk about him. So you know what I said, Sam?
What did you say?
We need to go to the source.
Oh, yeah?
We need to hear I want to hear from the Sharks reporters. How are the Sharks reporters feeling about the Timo Meier discourse and everything that kind of goes along with it? And I know a Sharks reporter. I know a guy. Mr. Corey Masisak of The Athletic, former New Jersey Devils reporter for The Athletic, moved out to California, seeing the sunny shores of San Jose and covering the Sharks. So he's coming on. But that's not all, Sam. We got a new guy coming in. Also a Sharks reporter. He works for the Mercury News. Curtis Pashelka. So, two great reporters coming on back to back, and we've heard some crazy rumors. Friend of the podcast, NHL Rumors Daily, great guy. He's a really nice guy, but he's a friend of ours, and he revealed on his podcast, which you should go listen to, that the ask is indeed right now, it's something like Mercer or Nemitz. That's what is going to move the needle for a Timo Meier trade. If the Devils want to do it now, based on the scuttlebutt, it sounds like that's what it is. Nemitz or Meier. Pick one, Nemitz or Mercer. Pick one. And there you go. But I want to hear from them. I want to hear what they're hearing from the ground, because we could say all we want. We could say, just send them Holtz, Sharangovich in the first. And, again, I'm going to write a piece tonight, Stam, that'll go out tomorrow about why we shouldn't be too excited to say goodbye to Igor Sharangovich. We need to be a little bit more protective of our guy. That's what I think. But that'll go out tomorrow morning.
I got a question for you, Nick.
Yes.
Didn't we talk about this a few weeks ago? I mean, I know I talked about on the Woo Report that it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. And are you prepared for the price of Timo Meier? And we've been debating it for a while, but now it seems like the price, Dawson Mercer, you're talking Dawson Mercer, and you know what? I would take the risk of getting Timo Meier one day, possibly in free agency. At this
or
point.
in the offseason.
Yeah.
You could trade from the offseason when nobody wants to deal with that $10 million qualifying offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a wake-up call last night, I think, that Vitek Vanacek has been phenomenal for the Devils, but he's been phenomenal because of what we've been used to in net. He is, by and large, a top 15 goalie. I don't want to say league average, but like a middle of the pack starting goalie. 15, probably like somewhere between 13 and 17, right? I could probably easily name 13 goalies better than him. You can at least name 10 pretty like off the top of your head. You know, like when you sit there and you ask, like, would I rather have, you know, taking injury out of it in a playoff series and everybody's healthy, would you rather have Tristan Jarry or would you rather have Vitek Vanacek? You know, I think a lot of people outside this fan base are picking Jarry. I think most of this fan base will pick Vanacek based on what he's done this year, and he's been good this year. But again, with Vanacek in net playing like he is now, you were one slump away from being out of the playoffs. And it could be the first round, it could be the second round. You know, you hope it's the third round. If the Devils make it to the Final Four, that's a phenomenal season. That is a major win. But I don't think Meier changes the fact whether you could get there or not. And mortgaging the future, which a Mercer or a Nemitz trade would do, I just don't think you do that. I wouldn't do that. If I'm Tom Fitzgerald, I'm taking them both off the table. And I've been saying it for weeks. I don't think you can take Sharon Govich off the table, although I'd like to, simply because of his penalty killing. His penalty killing is so good. But you got to give to get. You know, Holtz is a distressed asset right now. So, of course, everybody's fine to give him up right now. And, of course, the tie is there with Eklund over in San Jose. But you can't just give your distressed assets for a superstar power forward who's 26 years old and might score 40 this year. But you also don't have to give up Mercer and Nemitz when there's nobody else on the who can match that.
Yeah. On that note, I want to get our next guest on the phones, Nick, but just let me comment what you just said. I think you make some great points. At the same time, you know, with the goalie situation, you don't need an Igor Shesterkin to win the Stanley Cup, which would be the ultimate goal. It would be nice, but you know what? Seeing what happened to Darcy Kemper last season.
Yeah.
And previous
Colorado
goalies,
was stupid good. Colorado was like Boston level good.
Yeah. So, but let me get Corey on and talk to social media.
Yeah, no, listen, here's the thing. This Timo Meier trade is all we're going to talk about until it happens. I predict that I'm going to be on here next week, Wednesday night, talking about the Timo Meier trade. I'm going to be on here the week after talking about whether the Timo Meier trade happened or not. This is going to dominate the lexicon. It's going to dominate the conversation. Here's the thing. It kind of stinks that our 500,000 download party is this weekend because we're going to talk about Timo Meier, which is going to be kind of an irrelevant topic in 3 weeks. But you got to talk about it. It is on any Devils fan's mind. I've talked about a couple other things on the puckspitchforks.com. And to the credit of everybody out there, you're reading pretty much everything we're putting out there. So I do appreciate everybody out there for really flooding the Pucks and Pitchforks click space because we are over 300,000 views this month. Love to see that. So gonna try to pound the pavement for the next week and try to get over 400,000 because that would be really dope. That would be really dope if we get over 400,000. But back to the point in large, Meier is the conversation. It's not Brock Besser. It's not Patrick Kane. It's not Jacob Chychrun, which is an underrated target, but I just don't think the Devils are kind of in that market right now. It's not Pavel Buchnevich, who is another interesting one. He kind of fits a lot of what Fitzgerald has said he wants to kind of hit. But if the Blues are actually in the Meier sweepstakes, then it wouldn't make sense for them to also trade Buchnevich. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. But, yeah, there's a lot of things that are going on right now. But Sam is back.
I'm back. I'm back with a good friend of the podcast on the other side of the continent. His name is Corey Masisak from The Athletic. You can find him on Twitter at CMasisak22. Corey, you're on with Sam and Nick. How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, guys. How are you?
Hey, it's a long time. It's a long time. We were so glad to have you back. How's it been, Corey?
It's been good. It's been, I was just telling Sam, it's been pretty busy, and I've also been sick. So there may be some coughing involved, but I'm on the other side of the sickness part. But I'm certainly not on the other side of the being busy part.
Yeah, I feel like you're going to have a lot to talk about with Erik Karlsson, and honestly, there's Nick Bonino is an interesting one, and there's a couple other players that could get moved on San Jose. But obviously, I have you on here tonight because of one Timo Meier. So let's get right into it. Timo Meier missed the last game with an injury. I believe it was upper body, but correct me if I'm wrong. What does your gut say? Is this like an injury that would like actually be an injury in most seasons, or is this kind of like, we're seeing more and more people be held out for trade related to these? Is this more of a precaution?
Yeah, like today, even today again, David Quinn said that look, he is being 100% truthful about Meier. He is actually injured, but it's he's questionable for tomorrow, which would be like the second game that he missed. I'm pretty sure that it, all things considered, if they were, 2 points out of a playoff spot or fighting for first in the division, that Meier will be playing tomorrow night and would have played on Monday. But yeah, it's one of those like I went back and watched all of his shifts from when the injury supposedly occurred against Buffalo. There was a couple like, he hit a guy here, a guy hit him there, and like one play where he kind of looked like he maybe like pulled his self out of it a little bit because he was wincing. But he played the rest of the game. I think he's. I think he's fine. It's just, like you said, they're certainly not in a position where they want to, like aggravate it any further or anything like that.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. So if the Devils or whatever team, the Blues or the Hurricanes, whoever gets Timo Meier, what kind of player are you getting here?
The Devils are interested in Timo Meier. I hadn't heard that. I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah, this is news. This is why, I came to break news, Corey.
Yeah, that's funny. I was talking to Tom Fitzgerald when the Devils were in town, and I think I joked with him that I wasn't sure who I was wondered who was hearing about Timo Meier to the Devils more, him or me. But yeah, no, okay. So Timo Meier is. I think he's the best player available. I guess Erik Karlsson could technically be the best player available too, but that's a different situation. He's a well put together wing who scores lots of goals, and that on its own is valuable. But he's also he's kind of better than that. He's not. I wouldn't say he's like Brad Marchand level, like two-way great player, but he's not deficient in his own end. He's fine, and he just drives offense. He is good with the puck, without the puck. He's good at skating the puck out of danger. He's good at passing it. He's good at shooting it. It's pretty much if you look at he's just like that guy that the numbers say he's good. The scouts love like the body and how hard he competes, and the fancy stats say he's good and that he makes other players around him good, which is something that, not every wing can necessarily say that. He's just a really good player. And, obviously, we'll talk about the Devils, he would probably be very good for them. He's, just in general, they just played the Sabres like a couple days ago, and I was watching that game, and it was in my mind the whole time. Like, first off, man, they got some good young players. And second off, just what would a playoff series between the Sabres and Devils look like? Because, how would, Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt deal with those just monster players? Those guys are all huge. And so, not saying that Timo Meier is 6'4" and 240 pounds, but he's bigger, and he plays big. He plays he knocks people around. He, somebody goes in front of somebody goes and the goalie and he goes and grabs him and throws him against the glass. Like he's that kind of guy. He's got like he's got a little mean streak to him whenever he's on the ice, and he scores lots of goals.
And I when you were here, we heard a lot that they don't have enough size, and we're a couple years later, and that's still an issue. Is that something that you've assessed? Like, you think that they have a size issue?
Well, I would say this. Look, they've had a great year. They have been one of those teams. Like, now they're one of the teams that I only get to see twice a year in person. Like the teams that we've that I've seen play twice this year. They looked awesome in both games. Really, like the one game the game in Jersey they looked awesome. The game out here, they were just kind of okay for a while, and then sort of did what they needed to do. I just look, they're super fast. They create all kinds of offense. We don't know how that's. I mean, it's entirely possible that they'll get to the playoffs and just keep skating around people, and it won't be that much of an issue. But I mean, it has been a kind of a long-standing thing in the NHL that, like, the game slows down a little bit in the playoffs. The space is a little bit harder to find, et cetera, et cetera. So I do think that, like, like you said, they don't. I don't think they need to go find three guys, three huge, big hulking wingers to play with Jack and Nico. But, like, it's pretty easy to see that Timo Meier is one of the guys that has, like, size and speed to keep up with him and skill to keep up with him. That he would be a pretty phenomenal fit next to either of them, honestly.
So we've been hearing a lot lately about the pieces, and I don't need you to break any news or to rumor monger, but in your opinion, just as a guy who, I mean, I remember when one time we had you on, you were traveling overseas to study some Devils prospects, so you're somebody who takes the initiative to kind of put time into both the NHL product and kind of the draft product and all that. So somebody who knows these two teams very, very well. You're in a very interesting position. What would you want as a centerpiece if you're the Sharks? What would you at least accept? Would you accept Holtz in a first and then, other pieces, whether it's Sharangovich or Riley Walsh or other things, or would you demand that Mercer and Nemitz be part of the deal?
Well, so the first thing that I wrote about this, which was, gosh, it feels like it was a long time ago, but I think it was only a few weeks ago at this point. I tried to think about it, like, what would Mike Grier think? Because, like you said, I know all these guys, but he knows them too. Like, I mean, he didn't spend a long time with the Devils, but he spent enough time with the Devils, and then he spent a year across the river in like in a front office, like, so he would have still probably been paying attention to some of these guys too. I mean, I went into this whole thing assuming that Luke Hughes and Simon Nemec are off the table. I know some people have thrown Nemec out there. I've even seen some Devils fans say they would rather trade him than Dawson Mercer. I just assume that those two guys are off the table, and then, yeah, I mean, if I'm Mike Grier, the first person I'm asking for is Mercer. Which, I mean, on one hand, it seems obvious because he's 21 years old and he's already a really good NHL player. But, like, it's also like we're only a couple years away from the draft, and, one of the guys went 7th overall and one went 18th. But, yeah, I just think that, like, just from what Mike Grier has said, he doesn't speak a lot, but whenever he does, like, he says the things that he says about what he wants his team to be and what he wants the Sharks to be moving forward, it just seems like Dawson Mercer is like a guy that he just has all the kind of the tangible and intangible things that obviously the Devils love him and obviously the Sharks love them. Like, he kind of honestly, like, I wouldn't say it's an apples to apples comparison, but he does kind of remind me of what, like, I think if he has a career like Logan Couture, I think that's going to be a pretty good career for him and is not a terrible comparison. So, yeah. So, I mean, look, that would be, and I think I've had people, like, inside and outside the game be like, that's exactly who they should ask for. And then I've also said people say the Devils shouldn't definitely not trade him. So it's I think that's, and I just saw that, like, Robert Aiken from the Record just tweeted yesterday that Grier has been asking for Dawson Mercer. I think a lot of the conversation has been centered around Holtz, or and then, but like I said, I think I think Mike Greer has to probably either did ask for Dawson Mercer or would like that guy to be involved, and then if the Devils don't want him to be involved, then you kind of go from there. It's just like you said, I think they have the Devils have more stuff that they can offer than pretty much anybody. Now the Blues coming into this at the last minute is interesting because they have their pick, which as of today would be like the 9th pick in the draft. Like that's one thing that, given that this draft class is so good, like being able to get like the 8th, 9th, 10th pick somewhere in that range that's a different deal than all these other teams that are going to be offering like a good prospect like Holtz or a good prospect like Scott Morrow from the Hurricanes and like the 25th or 28th pick. Like that 9th, 10th pick would be pretty valuable. But yeah, like I said, I think it would, with the Devils, you start with Mercer. If it's not Mercer, then maybe it's Holtz, and Seamus Casey is another guy that's interesting. Then they've got there's a whole bunch of other stuff that could be involved as like the second or third piece. But yeah, it does seem like somewhere along the line of Mercer or Holtz or Shakir McCamadoulan plus a first. And also, like, I don't know, like, we don't know how these kind of negotiations go back and forth. Like, the Devils could be okay with a deal with including a guy one day and then not being okay the next week. But, like, to me, I would think that if Mercer, or even, let's say, for whatever reason, there's a huge bidding war and they did maybe consider Nemec, like, you wouldn't, like, the other pieces get worse if you include that guy. Like that's I think that's just, I don't know if that seems like common sense to me, but maybe that hasn't really been out there that much. That like if they did include Mercer, then the third piece would not be nearly as good as if the first piece is Holtz or Seamus Casey or Muhammad Dolan or So that was a lot. Sorry.
Yeah. No. That was great. I think it comes down to and Jeff Merrick of Sportsnet always talks about lottery tickets, and he's usually talking about draft picks, but it could kind of go with prospects too. Do you want 3 lottery tickets where you could get 3 cornerstones of your franchise, or do you want one that has much higher odds of hitting, and then 2 that are, completely terrible odds of hitting, or middling odds, we'll say. So I think that's kind of what it comes down to, and I feel like that's what the pause is. I also think that there's no rush. I've been saying this for a while. Like, we're in a rush because, the Rangers got Tarasenko and the Islanders got Horvat and the Leafs got O'Reilly, so other teams are moving. We're in a rush, but I don't think anybody else is in a rush, right? Do you feel the same way about Greer? You think he's not in a rush to do anything?
Yeah, I think especially with Meier, I think this is purely like he's got something in mind that he wants, and he's either going to get it or, maybe near the end he'll back off and say, okay. It's just that, like, to me, like, Meier is like such a different proposition to trade than even Erik Karlsson, obviously because of the contract, or Tarasenko or Horvat because they were both going to be unrestricted free agents. Like, this is like Mike Greer's one shot to, like, I don't want to say like shave time off of the rebuild, but like kind of cut a corner a little bit here, where like if they get something good here, this changes the next 3 to 5 years for the franchise. And it's more than just they need to get off of Erik Karlsson's contract, or they need to trade Nick Bonino because he's an unrestricted free agent. So yeah, I think that's I would be surprised if it goes all the way down to March 3rd, but I don't, I think, like, just as an example, like, it doesn't sound like the St. Louis Blues were in on this 3 days ago. And then over the course of the last 3 days, like, the Blues have become a team that's out there. Like, Vegas just traded Shea Weber's contract today, so now they have a little more cap space freed up. That's an interesting one. Trading your best player to your biggest rival would be a weird deal, but where the Sharks are, and they're kind of at the beginning of this thing. Maybe that doesn't matter, but yeah. So,
Give me a number. Do you think what do you think percentage possibility that no deal happens at all and Meier stays? I mean, he does have the Carlson trade, which is incredibly complicated. That's going to take up a lot of his time. What's the possibility that he doesn't trade Meier at all?
I think it's pretty low. I mean, I think the odds of him not trading Carlson are much higher. I think that's so complicated that it might just be better to wait until the summer when more than one or two teams could be involved. But with Meier, I mean, it's, you look at like the deal that the Blackhawks did with Alex DeBrincat over the summer and say, look, you could just hang on to him and wait until the draft, and then maybe somebody like the Blues, who will still have that 8th or 9th pick, would be willing to do the deal then. But at the same time, this is, there are going to be other players who are going to be available for trade over the summer as well, and this is like, you've got the bell of the ball right now, and teams are sort of working against a deadline that might lead them to do something that they, wouldn't necessarily want to do the day of the draft or whatever. So I just think that, like, with the Devils, like you said, like they just have, they just have like 4 or 5, at least 3 or 4 guys that could be the first, like, kind of the main piece of the trade. Whereas you look at some of these other teams and it's like pretty much 1 or 2 guys that seem like they fit. If you're trying to stack up what the Hurricanes or what the Blues or what Vegas could offer that's similar to what New Jersey can offer, like the Devils just have more options to. I don't know if that necessarily means they're going to be more willing to do one of the big pieces, but it's going to hurt them less to do it for the future, and especially if Timo Meier is willing to sign there and play there for the next 8 years, could be a pretty good deal for them.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point with the Blues. That 7th or 8th or 9th overall pick, whatever that ends up being, that's teams like, and especially with a first-year guy like Greer, he's going to really want to make his own picks, right, and pick his own guys. And obviously he can do that in this trade, but if he doesn't want Holtz, or if he doesn't want Sharon Govich, or if he doesn't want whoever, those other centerpieces are, an interesting move would be if they can get, I don't know if they could, but if they could get Snuggered from and that first round pick from the Blues, that's the only deal that I could see being kind of on the same par.
Yeah, I think I wrote about that with Jeremy Rutherford yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. I think it's one or the other. I would be very surprised if they got both of those in that. I think they're what the best Blues offer is. I won't say relatively easy, but compared to the other teams, it's relatively easy to sort of pinpoint. Like, it's going to be one of those two things. It's either going to be their picker and that guy, or and then one of the other picks, and then something else. I think that's pretty much probably. And then it's going to be, if they are willing to offer that, then it's up to the other teams to try to beat that.
Yeah, I agree. Corey Masisak, go check out his articles. He's doing those trade pieces. He's going around town and finding the other reporters and talking. He's putting the trades out there, and we love that. We love hanging your neck out there and actually putting the trades that could happen out there. We love the mock trades and putting actual thought into it and expertise from the other teams. That's what we love about The Athletic, is the collaboration is second to none. You just don't get that anywhere else. So, if you're not subscribed to The Athletic, we miss Corey. We miss Corey very much. But, Corey, take a second to kind of promote yourself as well. Let us know what's coming up. And do you have any plans for like a post-Timo trade article when it happens?
Yeah, I'm sure there. I was trying to think of how many things I've written about Timo Meier since like January 25th. It's been a lot. There's going to be a few more. But yeah, no. It's I certainly hear from people about that we don't, that our place doesn't cover the Devils as much as we normally do, or as we used to. But we're covering them a lot right now. And there will be, we'll be, somebody or there will be more stuff about them to moving forward. But yeah, no, lots of lots of trade stuff about the Sharks right now. They've, like you said, beyond Timo Meier, they've got a bunch of guys that could move here in the next week or so, and they're also retiring Patrick Marleau's number this weekend, which is like an exciting thing for people out here. But it's a lot of it. It's just busy time. So it's going to be a couple things about Patrick Marleau too.
So yeah, if you're already subscribed to Athletic, make sure to check out Corey Masisak. If you're not, make sure you go on his Twitter page and see all the articles he's cooking up, and check them out, because I really love the Devils article. I'll find it in the archives. It's not that far back, and I'll tweet it out from the Pucks and Pitchforks account so people can easily find it. But Corey, we love having you on. If it comes up again, if we're in trade scuttlebutt again, we'll have you on again soon. Corey, thanks so much.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Corey. That is Corey Masisak of The Athletic. Good friend of the podcast, coming to you from the other side of the continent. He's doing well. I was talking to him off air, Nick. He's doing well.
It's good. Listen, he seems like he made a move for his life and his family, and that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and are you okay, Nick?
Yeah.
Oh, you're looking down, and I'm looking at you.
I'm trying to find. So, just to reveal, one of the set of questions was in a Twitter message. The other one's in the email. So I had to find the second set of questions.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I couldn't tell if there was a problem. Looking at social media, we have a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people on YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Facebook Live. We want to welcome those that are new to this podcast. State of Fan Address, Let's Go Devils podcast. Welcome, as we were talking to Corey Masisak, and we've got another guest coming up very soon. Nick?
Yeah. It's all Sharks all the time today. It is what it is. It's Timo Meier, Timo. Sometimes you just got to lean into it, Sam. Sometimes, we want to talk about, the Devils put together not the best performance last night against Montreal, but honestly, they just got goalied. They were the dominant team. They were much, much, much better than Montreal, and they lost because Montalbot, or however you say his name, was just better than Vanacek. And it is what it is. Hughes looked a little meh. Lindy Ruff revealed that a lot of the players are sick. We knew that John Marino was sick and almost missed the game. It happens. Flus go around. Yeah, it's obviously not COVID because they played. So it's not too worrisome. But, people still get the flu. People still get the colds and, things like that. So, the Devils tried to power through it last night. They lost. Montreal's not a good team. Even though they lost, they were still dominant. They just gave up one too many chances, and Vitek was not good. And it is what it is. He's allowed to have a bad game. Let's just hope it doesn't turn into multiple bad games, because Mackenzie Blackwood's also hurt again.
Surprise,
Sam, I can't
surprise.
do another goalie thing. I can't do another goalie terror. I can't. Please, God, no.
Devils are doing just fine. I wouldn't worry about it, although it kind of stunk last night. Scotty doing Devils After Dark, going solo, having to talk about that game. But I thought he did pretty well, putting
There was
things in
stuff to
perspective.
talk about.
Yeah.
Hughes had that really stellar chance, and he just shot in the wrong place.
It's a matter of finishing.
Or not Hughes. Was that Bratt? I can't remember. Was that Bratt or Hughes?
Yeah,
The goalie was looking in the wrong direction, and he shot it at the goalie.
Oh, I thought that was Siegenthaler. Was it Siegenthaler? I thought
No, I think it was
Siegenthaler had
Bratt or
a play.
Hughes.
No.
I mean, they all had plays. Mercer scored again, right? I
Of
think.
course he did. Yeah.
Yeah. So
'Cause he's
Mercer's
Dawson
looking
Mercer.
really good since he's been in these trade rumors. He's looked real good. I can't, Sam. I can't give up Mercer. I'd
course
rather
not.
let Meier go to Carolina. I would rather let
Of
Meier
course.
go to Carolina.
Dawson Mercer, 21 years
Because
old.
Carolina's got to give up Jarvis, and Jarvis is really good too. Here's my point, Sam, is that if you give up Dawson Mercer, first of all, the Devils' bottom six has been inconsistent lately. And if you're just replacing Mercer with Meier, then you're not pushing people down into that bottom six. You're just replacing one piece for another. And while that makes your top six even better, that's not the problem. You're not fixing the problem. You are, in fact, exasperating the problem. Now, looking ahead, if you replace Mercer with Meier, you're taking a player who probably in the future is going to make $2 to $3 million a year and replacing it with a $9 million player. And now you can't afford, like, the $2 to $3 million player that you're going to replace him with is going to be older because you're going to have to get him on a free agency, and he's going to be much worse. So, you can't. When you got I don't want to call him a guaranteed asset, but Mercer's good. Like, he's probably guaranteed to get 40 every year, and his ceiling is like 60. So some might even have a ceiling higher. I have a ceiling as like 60, like a 60-point player, a 20-40 guy, and I'd love that. That would be huge if you could get that out of him every year. And he could be your third-line center. He could be your second-line winger. He could be, he can be your energy line. He wins puck battles. He goes into corners. He fights for his teammates. He doesn't fight, but he's a bulldog out there. And the Devils just need those type of players. Even though he doesn't have the size, he has the tenacity. And the Devils need tenacity. They have a lot of skill. They need tenacity. And I know Meier brings that, but I just don't see how any team can match what the Devils can offer. Except if the Blues do the Snuggard in that 8th overall, 9th overall pick. That's the only deal that I think the Devils would have to move Nemitz or Mercer. And I don't think the Blues are doing that. And I think Corey made that same point.
Yeah, and Mercer, I liked how Corey compared Mercer to Logan Couture, and if you want to, I kind of find him as a former Devil, Jamie Langenbrunner, a guy that I wouldn't say that he's a bruiser, Dawson Mercer, but man, is he tenacious out there?
Yeah,
like we were saying, and
you need those to win a cup.
Yeah,
like think about that 2012 team. You had Parise and Kovalchuk. You had Clarkson, who was a 30-goal scorer that year. You had some really good pieces, but you got there based on the Carter, Bernier, Giunta line. Their forecheck was just phenomenal, and that changed the game. And up and down the lineup, you were getting contributions. And that's why that 2012 team made it.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to get our next guest, but I'm just letting you know right now, if you were texting me, Nick, my phone's dead.
Okay.
It's not working. So I'm just letting you know. Anyway.
Okay. I texted you before the podcast, but I got up on time, so it's fine.
Yeah, you know what? I think there's a problem with the SIM card. It's just not working. Anyway, let me get our next guest.
It's a problem, but fix it later. I don't know how do I transition from that, guys. I am a professional broadcaster, and I should be able to transition from this. Let me ask you out there: Are y'all sick of the Timo Meier talk? Are you just as obsessed as everybody else? Do you want us to talk about anything else, or is this all you care about? Because when I look at the conversation, this is all I'm seeing people talk about. Vince Hatt on Facebook says Bryce's Norris playoff. Yeah, that was huge. Mercer, a modern day John Madden by Ryan Mann. I love that comparison. I actually liken Igor to John Madden just because of how good he's been on the penalty kill. But I could see Mercer. I could see the crossover appeal. The other thing is Mercer plays all three. He plays penalty kill, he plays power play, and he plays 5v5, obviously. I'm like day 8 of wearing my Give Me Ghoul, Give Me Fire, Give Me Timo Meier shirt. Brian, we're there. We're there. We're trying to make it work, and it's just Mercer's better than Madden. Steve Tardis says, "Man, we got some fighting in the Facebook chat." But yeah, here's the thing: is that I can't trade Dawson Mercer. I can't do it. I can't. You can't do it. This is a no-go. This is a no-go. I don't think the Hurricanes are making Jarvis available because they just don't have as much young talent that they could replace him with. I don't think that Snugger's available for the Blues, and if he is, he's the only piece. And that's the other thing. And Corey touched on this. If you get Mercer, that's the only piece. That's it. And I think they're going to want Mercer and the first and another piece. I just don't think it's happening. I think that's why this is going nowhere. And Devils fans want this to happen. They want the trade to happen. And trust me, I'm trying to hit 400,000 views this month. And if the Meier trade happens, it's going to hit. It is going to hit. But you can't make the move just to make the move. This Eastern Conference is a death trap. The Devils might make the Meier move and still lose in the first round of the playoffs. Or they might not make the Meier trade and still make it to the Stanley Cup final. There's just so much that we just don't know what's going to happen because the Eastern Conference is so crazy good. The Devils are already a really good team. So I don't know. Trading the future, it's not something I love. But Sam's back. I love when Sam's back.
Yeah, I'm back, and I'm back with our next guest. But on that point, Nick, I'm going to tell you, it's going to all boil down to two things going into the playoffs. Which goalie is hot, and then it's going to boil down to the beefalytics, which team wants it more up front. It's all about bullying in the first round and second round, and that's where it scares me with the Devils. Will they get thrown around in the first round in the playoffs? You can only use the speed to an extent, but anyway, that's just my opinion.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Our next guest, his name is Curtis Pashelka from the Mercury News. You can find him on Twitter at Curtis Pashelka. Curtis, you're on with Sam and Nick. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Oh, we're doing phenomenal. It's so great to talk to new people. And these things like the trade deadline and draft trades and things like that gives us the opportunity to talk to new people. So, Curtis, really excited to welcome you to the Let's Go Devils podcast tonight.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, it's just kind of a fun time of year for every hockey fan, right? Like, who you trading, who like if you're a team that's out of the playoffs, like the Sharks and their fans are, it's all about the future and what might lie ahead. And for a team like the Devils, it's all about right now and how are you going to stock up for what you hope is a certain a playoff run. So yeah, for all hockey fans, it's a pretty cool time of year.
So let's get right into it. Obviously, Timo Meier's the prize. That's your focus. That's our focus. That's pretty much everybody. Carolina's focus, St. Louis's focus. You're looking at this from the Sharks' perspective. You see all these teams. You see even Vegas is kind of in there, but they're kind of a rival to you, so it complicates things. Are you considering the Devils the best fit as far as a trade partner?
Yeah, I do, and for a variety of reasons. I think obviously the Devils. You look at some of their prospects and how they could sort of fit here in San Jose, a team that could use just about everything, really, when you look at not only the team they have on the ice right now at the NHL level, but also in terms of their prospect pool, which certainly could, use some upgrading here and there. So I do look at the Devils as a team that could be a really good partner with the Sharks. It all depends on what else is out there. Mike Greer seems to be getting a lot of calls right now, and he has a lot of options kind of going forward here. So it's up to him to sort of decide what's best for him and what's best for the Sharks organization, and that's what's going to make such an interesting next few days here, next week and a half or so.
Yeah, I listen. I believe it's 9 days until the trade deadline, and I feel like Mike Grier is going to use every last second. Do you agree?
I think so. Because it's such a big transaction for the Sharks. Meier is sort of the last big tradable, most valuable asset they have, and if you're in a spot as an organization where you don't necessarily feel that you're going to be a Stanley Cup contending type team for another 2 or 3 years, then it's important to sort of get the type of return for Meier that can help you become a cup contending type team in a few years here. So it is big for him, and that's why I think he's got to see what's best for his team and make the decision accordingly. But I don't expect him to sort of rush into anything here over the next few days, well before March 3rd.
So what should the Devils expect? Say Meier comes here, or say for anybody who's going to get Meier, what do you expect, or what should we expect from him as a player?
Well, you're going to get a guy who's built for the playoffs, right? I mean, he's 6'2", he's about 210, 215. You look back to the last time the Sharks made the playoffs, that was 2018-19 when they made it to the Western Conference Final, and Timo played every game, had 15 points, I believe, in 20 games, even as a 22-year-old. So that kind of tells you this guy doesn't shy away from necessarily from the big moments. Even at that age, he was making a pretty big impact for this Sharks team here. So, and you're getting a guy who's highly motivated. And I know there's a lot of talk that the Devils would need to have a contract in hand before a deal might be completed. But if there isn't a contract in hand by the time Timo goes to a playoff team, he's going to be much more motivated to play well and ensure he has a very prosperous future with any team. So he's built for the playoffs. He scores big goals. He's not afraid to get at the greasy areas. Great shot, great speed, terrific skill. Seems to have all the complete package, and would seem to be a fit for most teams as they go into the postseason.
And I love to hear all that. That sounds like exactly what the Devils need. I think that he fits the profile of the guy we've been looking for. Like correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking maybe if you take 2 steps up in the scoring and 2 steps low in the late hits, the dirty hits, then you got kind of like a Tom Wilson comparison. Is that kind of like what do you ever think like that way?
Yeah, I think so. He is, he'll probably approach about 40 goals this year, we assume, if he stays on the pace he's on right now. He's not necessarily a fighter. I mean, he did get into a fight in Boston that one game, last month, but he's not afraid to mix it up, but he's not going to drop the gloves very often, kind of thing. So he's big, he's physical. So I think that's a pretty good comparison. Is just not a dirty player by any stretch of the imagination, but just a guy who plays a certain physical brand of hockey and is also a prolific shooter. Can score from just about anywhere. And make plays as well, and you're going to slot right in your top power play unit. You're going to fit in just about anywhere, and so he's going to be what teams certainly want to at this time of year for sure.
So we got 9 days. We talked about kind of taking the time. Do you have an idea what is holding the process up? Is the fact that the Sharks have the two best pieces on the market with Meier and Karlsson? Is that making things complicated? Like, what do you think is complicating this while teams like the Canucks can make moves and the Blues have traded O'Reilly and Tarasenko? Like, what is holding the Sharks up in this process?
Well, when you look at what the reports that emerged yesterday about the St. Louis Blues, like you mentioned, placing a call to San Jose to talk about Timo Meier. That was a team that you didn't necessarily figure would be in the mix just a few days ago, but here they are with their GM coming out and saying, we want a guy who's 26 years old, can be part of a core of players going forward that we can have around for the next 6 or 7 years or 8 years. And then so, the Blues, when that happens and you look at what the Blues can offer in terms of maybe a package of either one first-round pick and a top prospect, or 2 first-round picks, giving Greer some flexibility going into the draft. That's kind of thing that has to give you some pause as far as okay, another option that we could potentially look at as far as how we can improve our team, going forward here. So, I think Mike Greer is going to just kind of let the sort of things play out here. Let them calm down just a little bit, and give him and his in the front office here some time to evaluate what the best move is for their organization. So I guess that's the main reason why. In the case of Horvat, I'm not 100% sure why he had to be moved so quickly. I think it was just getting to the point in that market where it was just getting talked about day in and day out, and he might have said to the team, let's try to make something happen here. And I think Tarasenko was ready to get out of St. Louis too. And I think for the Rangers' perspective, they probably checked in on Meier. They figured the price was just a little too high, and then they went ahead and made the move and got their guy in Tarasenko. So I mean, teams are on different timelines. They have different approaches. For the Sharks, this is kind of what they have, and it adds a little drama too for the next.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Let me ask you real quick about Greer. It's his first year as the Sharks GM. He's an incredibly smart guy. He's very well revered around the league. I had sources back in the day that said that the Devils really liked him as a future head coaching candidate. This was before they hired Lindy Ruff. And then he ended up kind of going the front office route, and it obviously worked out for him. Do you feel like this guy is playing this well? Do you agree with a lot of the ways he's handled this?
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll see what the final result is as far as was it the proper way to go about it. But I do like the way he hasn't rushed into anything as far as it would obviously be very easy for the Sharks and for Mike Greer to get Tom Fitzgerald on the phone and then just to hammer something out that could probably work for both teams. But I think he's willing to sort of be patient here and see what everybody else has to offer as well. And so we'll see. I haven't loved a couple of the moves that Mike has made. You look back at the Brent Burns trade with the Hurricanes, and you look at maybe the Sharks could have gotten a little bit more in return, considering Brent's how good of a season he's having right now. But that what's done is done. I think Mike's he's learning a little bit. I think he's surrounded himself with some very smart people as well, and certainly help him in his job right now. So it is his first year as a GM, but that could be a good thing too. As far as you don't have any baggage, you're coming in here, you want to try to turn this thing around, the Sharks around as soon as you can, and you've got a clean slate to work with this too. So we'll see how it all shakes out in the end. But I think the way he's handling Timo Meier right now and Erik Karlsson to that extent too, I think is the right way to go.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the Devils. You said that you think they're the best fit. What pieces do you think, as a Sharks reporter, as somebody who's got the pulse of the Sharks fans, Who do you think needs to be in the deal for Sharks fans to come out of this? I don't want to say happy. Let's say content. What will make the Sharks fans content?
Well, obviously it starts with a first rounder this year. Wherever that might land is, if the Devils go all the way to the Cup final and it ends up being 31st or 32nd overall pick, then that's what it is. But I think that's where it starts. You're reading a report yesterday that the Sharks would love to get Dawson Mercer. I don't know how realistic that is, but obviously if you're able to get a first rounder plus Mercer and maybe plus, a veteran player, maybe the cap work or whatever it is, just to kind of add another piece of the puzzle. I think that would be very satisfactory from the Sharks fans' perspective, just because he's such a more of a known quantity. He's a little younger. He's under team control for a few more years. So that would be a move that I think the Sharks fans would appreciate. Other than that, does a Holtz excite the Sharks fan base? Probably not as much. I think there's a little bit of a question mark about him, and I think the Sharks want to try to go with as many sure things as possible. And like the old saying is, you like green bananas, right? Not quite ripe just yet, kind of coming into their own. So we'll see. I don't know. If a player like Johnson, Andreas Johnson, fits into the Sharks' first-round plans. I don't know. The defenseman, and I know I'm going to butcher his last name here, but McMadullen, is that right? Okay.
McMadullen. I've heard some people tell me the K is silent, which I think is just unfair. Other people tell me it's not. So I go with McMadullen. Just say it real fast, and it all blends together.
I apologize for him if he's listening right now, or to his family. So, but a player like him, I've heard some mixed reports. Some players, some scouts like him, some others not so much. So, but if it's a first round pick and a very, very good young player, I think that would be very good, news to Sharks fans. If it's a first round pick plus, maybe a question mark or two as far as the prospects you get in return, that might be a cause for some concern among Sharks fans. So, you put it all together, and I think that, the Sharks are going to come out of this with either high picks or some strong prospects. Either way, I think the Sharks are in a good position right now, but we'll see how it all shakes out.
Now, before I let you go, Curtis, do you think there's any chance that he doesn't get moved?
There's a chance. He is. It is possible for Mike Grier to say that I'm not getting what I want right now. Maybe we revisit this at the draft, and there's also a chance too that maybe I don't think Timo Meier is looking to get out of town. I don't think he's can't wait to get out of to San Jose right away. But is he open to signing long term? I haven't heard anything to the contrary. I think he as long as he just wants to be treated, paid fairly, compensated fairly, and if him and the Sharks after all this is said and done are still together and it can work out something long term, then maybe that's the way it goes. But I think from Mike Grier's perspective, he really wants to upgrade sort of the prospect pool here and get a fresh start too, because maybe that the window for winning with a guy like Meier, who's already 26 years old, he's going to be 27 in October. Maybe he doesn't quite fit into that timeline for when the Sharks might really start to rise up again and be a consistent playoff contender again. So it's possible, but I would be surprised if he's still a Shark on March 4th.
Curtis Pashelka, writing about the Sharks. He's got Timo Meier content up right now. Curtis, do you have anything planned?
Hi, Curtis. We had a little technical difficulty. This is Sam. Nick wanted to ask you, do you have anything planned and anything you would like to plug?
Well, right now my focus is kind of split. because we've got Patrick Marleau's jersey retirement ceremony on Saturday. So I'm writing a little bit about that, and also, but you're keeping an eye on what's going on with the trade deadline. Obviously, people can't get enough of that right now. So a little bit of both, a little bit of stuff on the deadline, and a little bit of stuff on Patrick Marleau, who's obviously played here for such a long time and had such an impact on the city and on the team. So well, hopefully people will be they'll like what they read, I guess.
Curtis, you're a busy man. I really appreciate you taking some time with us, telling us about Timo Meier, telling us about this from a Sharks fan's point, or a Shark analyst's point of view. I really appreciate you coming on. And hey, if you ever see yourself out east, if you're covering the Sharks Devils game, come to American Whiskey. It's right across the street from the Prudential Center. We'll buy it. What, Sam? You got to remind me again. What's the new catfish? We don't do catfish anymore. What do we offer our reporters?
Oh, we offer our reporters Taylor hamburgers now.
Taylor hamburgers.
Off the menu items that only the podcast fans can order.
Curtis, I don't know if you know what Taylor ham/pork roll is, but it's literally like if you think about those rolls that lunch meat come in, but it's like if you took bacon and you put it on this roll and you just cut it in circles, that's Taylor ham.
Okay.
So we put it on a burger.
Hey, that sounds good to me. I'm not fussy. I'll have a beer and have one of those, and it's a good time from my perspective anyway.
So swing by American Whiskey next time you're in New Jersey, and we'll take care of you, Curtis. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll talk to you again soon.
You got it. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Curtis. That is Curtis Pashelka from the Mercury News, giving us the Sharks' perspective on everything. Excellent,
Sam,
excellent podcast.
I try, man. Here's the thing, Sam. We didn't even talk about the Stadium Series and how the Devils are tied to the next Stadium Series game. Did you talk about that on the Woo Report?
No, I have not.
You haven't even done a Woo Report on it. Wow. Sam, there's so much going on right now. There's so much going on.
So I've been so bogged down on our February 25th shindig, but I would like to comment on it, though.
Go ahead. Plug away.
Well, the Old Continental Airlines Arena and Brendan Byrne is just, still the tunnel away. If that happens, Nick, we will throw one of the biggest tailgate party podcasts outside of MetLife Stadium, and it'll be one for the ages. I can assure you that. A lot of hoopla, a lot of it's going to be probably cold because I still have nightmares from the Yankee Stadium game back in 2014, Nick, how brutally cold that day was. Like, it was the wind. It was so cold, and but it was awesome if you remember, in the first period when it started snowing. Beginning of the game, it was kind of like we were blinded by the sun.
Yeah.
Or no, before the game, we were blinded by the sun, and then suddenly the cloud comes in, and it had that, winter-like atmosphere. And when the Devils had the lead, I just wanted to just have that moment paused in time. I forgot about the rest of the game.
So the West Virginia Mountaineers played a game at Yankee Stadium once, and it was also miserable weather-wise. Also game-wise, just like the Devils Stadium Series was. So I just need my Yankees to play in Yankee Stadium, and that's it. And honestly, not a lot great has happened in Yankee Stadium since 2009. So maybe we just try again on a third Yankee Stadium. That's what I think. We just try again. No, I mean, it'll be cool. MetLife is great.
Well, the tailgating, anybody that knows, I tailgated from my teens till 2007 in that parking lot. That's where a lot of friendships grew before Devils moved to Newark.
Yeah. It's going to be it'll be great if it's next year. I actually wrote about this on pucksandpitchforks.com. 3 opponents not named the Rangers, who the Devils could see in the Stadium Series. I try to make interesting cases for 3 not Rangers teams.
Did you say the Flyers? I didn't read the article yet.
Yeah, I said the Flyers. The Flyers are the obvious one, but the other 2 aren't so obvious. I didn't put the Islanders.
Wow. I'm trying to think of other teams that you could put. Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh's in every freaking.
And that's why I didn't put
series.
Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's not on there either. The other 2 teams are not metropolitan teams. I'll give you that clue.
I mean, they should really have. The Flyers and the Penguins playing at Beaver Stadium at Penn State for a Keystone Cup Stadium series.
They didn't play at Beaver Stadium yet?
I don't remember. I thought they wound up doing it at Heinz Field.
I know they're going to those college stadiums more often now, but I can't remember if they did at Beaver Stadium. Beaver Stadium would be cool. I hate Penn State, but Beaver Stadium would be cool.
I don't know why you hate Penn State so much. I don't get it. Are you jealous?
I have my reasons, Sam.
Oh, okay. Is it outside of football?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yes. I mean, the scandal didn't help, and how everybody acted about the scandal didn't help, but no, it's more than that.
We're not going to talk about that right now.
That's beyond my pay grade.
Alrighty. So, no, I think they tried to do it in 2017, but it came down to financials of doing it. So
it's so hard to keep track of where they've done so many of these at this point. I was looking. I didn't realize the Devils game was the second ever Stadium Series game.
Yeah. Who was the first?
I remember it was early, but I didn't remember second ever. Like that's kind of impressive.
Yeah, it was like the Coors Light. Now, I actually had press credentials for that game, and it was
get them for this game.
It was the coolest moment because I got to go up to the NBC booth, and who was standing right next to me was Doc Emmerich. It was awesome. It was like a surreal thing. It's like, wow, and talking to Doc for 5 minutes about what's going on, because I think we were all getting blinded by the ice. Remember when the sun was hitting it, it was just like shining right in your eyes. Yeah. But all right, well,
you want me to plug? Is that what?
it's already 9:40. I wasn't sure what the show format was.
Yeah, I have I wrote about the Dawson Mercer trade last night, and how the Devils should say no if that's happening. That's doing well. Wrote about a bunch of trades. I wrote about one article that's doing well. Is I wrote about 5 trade pieces that are like the most important pieces on the Devils this trade deadline season. Some interesting ones on there. David Williams talked about secondary scoring. David Holliday wrote about winning back-to-back games. Vinny Parisi talked about Nico Hischier's 100th career goal. See, we're talking about more than Timo Meier, guys. Jersey Joe talked about Barbashev and what he can do for the Devils. John talked about 5 alternative trade targets that aren't named Timo Meier. So we got, Oh, and then an interesting one from Sam. Sam talked about, not you, Sam, the other Sam. The other Sam talked about whether the Devils should look into making Shakir Mukhamadullin a forward.
I saw that one. That's a good one.
So,
that's a good one.
A lot of interesting stuff, and I was just told that I got 2 in the docket. So, one from Jersey Joe. I don't know what that one's about. I know David Williams was working on one talking about who are the untouchables on the Devils. Those will both go out in the morning. I told you I'd give you a Igor Sharangovich piece. I think I already wrote this piece, actually. So I got to look back. If I've already written this piece, I'm not going to write it again. I'll give you something for the morning. Sam, I'm writing too much. No, that's not true. I'm not writing too much. But I'm writing a lot. And I'm also writing for the front page, fansided.com. Lots of football stuff. I think that I might start a series for them, a fun series where I talk about 3 players from each NFL team that don't make sense in that jersey. The first one's already out. I did the New England Patriots. One of them, James Harrison. Do you even remember James Harrison playing for the Patriots?
Yes.
Okay, well, not everybody does, because I'm a Patriots fan, and I forgot that completely happened. I remembered it once I saw it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that did happen. And that's what we're trying to, oh, yeah, James Harrison did play for the Patriots, didn't he? Ended his career with the Patriots.
Even Darrelle Revis played for the Patriots.
He did. Is he on the list? You'll have to go read it to find out. Go to fansided.com, search Nick Villano, and I'll come up, and all these fun trade pieces will be up. I'm also talking about, I did a fake trades piece for the Chicago Bears. Why not, right, Sam? Chicago Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears. So that'll be fun. But yeah, pucksandpitchforks.com. Vinny, if you're listening, go share my Bears piece.
All right, so I'm going to plug again. And some breaking news on our February 25th. Nick, you don't even know half of this stuff.
That's not great.
So Scotty is flying over from L.A. Number one, we got the specials, and we'll probably release that probably tomorrow night. The Taylor hamburgers and the sangria and all that kind of stuff, all the prices and everything. Also, we will have drink specials during the game because there are fans that may be watching the game, not inside, but at American Whiskey. And Scotty and I will be at the bar hanging out with you, the fans, watching the Devils play the Flyers. And we're also going to have Devils trivia during that game and giving out some prizes. So for those that don't have a ticket or those that just want to hang out, you can at American Whiskey. Just a bunch of things that we're going to be doing. It's going to be a lot of fun. And also Arlette is going to sing a song. She's going to stop by around 5:30, 5:45. p.m., a little bit earlier because there's going to be ceremonies going on at the game for the 2003 Stanley Cup celebration, 20-year anniversary. And you just never know who's going to actually show up at American Whiskey. Plus, we got DJ Shelley doing the entertainment from 3 to 7. It's just loaded.
And you got me, Sam.
Oh, yeah, and we got Nick Villano as well.
I'll be there the entire time, 3 to 7, and then I'm going into the game because Sam got me a ticket. So
yeah. Oh, no, actually, no, Sam didn't get you a ticket. JCB Architectural, our good friend of the podcast, is going to be
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say that. So you.
Oh, yeah. That's my job. I'm sorry. I almost forgot to plug JCB, as in CB walkie-talkie. JCB Architectural for all your architectural needs. These guys, they do things the right way. They wait from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the dam inspector to inspect their house, whatever they're doing. And but they do things the right way. They even pull permits. Nick.
Love to hear that.
Yeah, JCB Architectural.
Do they do drywall? I need drywall work.
They're architects. So I don't know
probably
if they
not.
No, probably
it's
not.
Below their pay grade. Did I just insult them?
Yeah.
Sorry, JCB.
Anyway. All right. So
that's part of my architecture is the drywall.
All right. So Nick, it was a pleasure tonight. I want to thank Corey Masisak for coming on, and also Curtis Pashelka as well, dropping the podcast at midnight. And we are also in breaking news mode right now. So I've been lugging around the equipment, Nick, in case there's breaking news. We'll try to get there as quickly as possible and give you the best coverage and analysis from the best of the best. So thank you. And thank you for making us part of your lives. Again, dropping the podcast at midnight. See you tomorrow. Until next time, let's go Devils.